Hello and welcome to the Mondelez International Google Hangout for Assessment Centre Tips. Due to our commitment to graduate and intern development across Europe, we want to help you be the best you can be and try and answer some of your questions about what to expect at assessment centres in general. For those we have invited to watch today, we must stress that the final shortlist isn't out for our own assessment centres, but you should be hearing from us soon as to whether you've been successful. Now, today I've invited Gemma and Steve to join me in giving you the best advice for preparing for any assessment centre you may be attending in the coming months or years. And I will let Gemma and Steve introduce themselves shortly. So over the next half an hour to an hour, we aim to give you our perspective on what candidates can do to perform at their best, and we hope that you can take this forward. And without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Gemma.
Hi everyone, I'm Gemma Friggins. I'm the talent lead for the UK and I for Mondelez International. I've been with the business for about 8 years, mainly in HR, but also spent some time in supply chain as well. I'm a co-chair of the Early Career Talent Forum, who are a group of leaders who run our early careers programs here in the UK and I. We're all really passionate about early career in our organisation, and many of us have been involved in it for a number of years. But as a business, we've been running apprentices, interns and grad programs across most of our functions for well over 10 years. I'm now going to ask Steve, who's one of our current graduates, to also introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Stephen Say. I'm a first-year supply chain graduate. I've been in the company for only 3 months, so I'm still fairly new and I'm really enjoying it at the moment. So I did a 4-year chemistry master's degree at the University of Sheffield, and in that time I did a placement year in my 3rd year at another FMCG company, and that was what really fixated that I wanted to work at an FMCG company like Mondelez. But I knew that I wanted to change from my previous experience. I wanted to go into food and beverages. What really attracted Mondelez to me was the brands. You get such iconic brands at Mondelez, and when you tell people that you work here, work for Cadbury's, work for Belvita, they become really interested and they ask you questions. So that's what really attracted me, and I'm very enthusiastic about the business.
Perfect. Well, thank you both of you. So as usual with our Hangouts, we've been taking some questions from people. So we're going to aim to answer as many of those as possible in the time that we have available. And if not, then you can feel free to contact us on Twitter using @MDLZ, and we will do our best to answer as many of the questions that we have come through on that channel as well. So I think the best way for us to go through this is to talk about assessment centres in general, the structure that we use, and how candidates can sort of prepare for that. So the first question that I want to ask and put forward to Gemma and Stephen is how does a candidate prepare for an assessment centre? What do they need to do? Steve, maybe you can take this one first.
Sure. So you've got to do your research into the company. It shows good business acumen that you're enthusiastic to learn. And so that's really vital when you turn up, that you know what you're talking about. It's good to think why you want to work for the company and why the company would want to employ you. It's not just about are you a good fit into the company, but you want to enjoy your job here. It will make you work better here. You've got to think about the questions that you might get asked, and you've got to prepare answers for them in your head so that you're ready to fire them off when asked. And it's important to get plenty of sleep the night before and look sharp on the day. Don't dwell on previous experiences. So if you think you're a good interviewer or a bad one, don't worry. Today's a new day on the assessment centre, and just focus on that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Gemma, do you have anything to add on to that one at all?
Yeah, just a couple of little extra builds from me. I guess to echo, we expect you to know about the industry, Mondelez, and most importantly our brands, which always excite everybody. I think in terms of our, either working with our organisation or within our organisation. Why you want to work in the function and what drove you to apply. So why you have energy for that specific area of our business is obviously really important. I think the other thing is not to feel kind of concerned. We really want you to come and be your best self on the assessment day. I see it very much as an opportunity for us to get to know you, but also for you to get to know us as well. And we hope that you'll come and feel really well prepared, really relaxed, and able to be yourself during the time that you have with us.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the next question I'm going to be putting forward, I'm sure is going to be on the lips of everyone that's watching live, and that is the actual structure of the Mondelez International Assessment Centre. So, Gemma, I was wondering if you could briefly give us the overview of the structure of how Mondelez International run an assessment centre for graduates and interns.
Yeah, sure, Dave. So we have a group exercise, presentation, and an interview. And for our graduates, there's also a role play as well. We also like to make the most of the time that you're with us. So you'll also get the opportunity to meet a number of the senior leaders from our organisation, our ECTF, so the Early Career Talent Forum group that I talked about earlier. They are all involved in assessment centres. And they will come and talk to you at lunch. You'll get to know as well graduates that are already on the programme, and also get to kind of know a little bit more about each other as well. So you know, there is some downtime through the lunch breaks to network and get to know you know, the fellow graduates that have also applied. Yeah, I think that's it,
Perfect.
Dave.
No problem. Thank you very much. So moving on from that, we've gone through a little bit about, you know, what we do here at Mondelez International, and a lot of these will be similar types of exercises in a lot of companies that you'll end up having assessment centres with. Now, the first thing that Gemma mentioned was the individual presentation. So, Steve, based on your experience, and obviously you were at an assessment centre for Mondelez International last year. How does someone, what should they demonstrate at an individual presentation? What are the key skills to get through?
Well, it's important that you portray confidence. You're there to look good, and if you're confident, you'll look really good showing your presentational skills. You're the expert in the topic of you, so if you're asked a question which is based on you, make sure that you sell yourself. You've got to speak clearly, enunciate, and vary your tone. No one wants to listen to someone that has a monotone. Be concise, get to the point. You want to not talk around the subject, but really get to the point so that the person listening is really focused in on what you're saying and that there's less noise. And really, you've got to be likable. The person interviewing you will want to work with you in the future. So if they're not going to like you, they're not really going to want to employ you. You've got to really show that you're a very likable person.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I guess moving on from that is that, you know, we've talked about how to portray yourself individually. Steve, can you sort of develop upon that in terms of how to portray yourself in a group exercise?
Okay, so you've got to be assertive and not aggressive. You want to work effectively as a team, so you don't want to steal other people's contributions. Sorry. So you've got to listen to people in the team and really collate those ideas and act as a lead in that group. You've got to contribute to the key decisions. So if you're a quiet person, it's really, you've got to speak up and get your voice heard. Around the whole team, you've got to discuss the idea. You've really got to decide on something and you've got to deliver that. So if the team is going off topic or if decisions aren't being made, you've really got to put your foot down and make sure that the decision is landed upon. Make sure that you're keeping to time because there will be a time constraint on these group exercises. So if you're going to overrun because you're not making the first of many decisions, you've really got to ensure that you're going to keep to time, make sure these decisions keep getting made. And I guess quite importantly, really, is that you've got to be creative. Don't dwell too much on the task and what would be necessarily a good product if they ask to develop a product. You've got to show innovation and show creativity.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I guess to surmise those 2 points, the key thing with any sort of individual presentation or group exercise at an assessment centre or assessment day is the fact that there is always an end outcome in mind. There is an objective and there is a goal. And I think that, you know, when as a candidate at any assessment centre, it's always good to keep those in mind because eventually that is what you need to bring are closed to, and that's what you need to work towards when you are presenting or working on a group exercise. And these are two very key things that you'll find throughout your careers as well that you need to be able to do. And talking with team members and people across the business, as well as presenting by yourself, are key skills that are necessary in any business context. So whether that's in the finance team delivering some numbers for the year, whether it be in HR talking to employees that are sort of learning functions, it's applicable to everyone. So they are very key skills that need to be worked on throughout your careers, and it's always good to show that you can do that right from the off. So moving on from that. Now, Gemma, you mentioned in your overview of the Mondelez International structure for assessment centres, for the graduates, there's a role play exercise of some sorts. I mean, what should someone be demonstrating in that sort of context? What is that?
Yeah, so the role play, we're really looking to see how you would act in a real life business situation. So it's kind of a one-on-one dialogue about the business challenge that you're given on the day. Really, it shows that you're open to have that dialogue and debate around the information that's provided, to drive your desired outcome. I think many of the things that Steve's already mentioned in terms of speaking clearly, being confident, and being able to, I guess, present your argument or debate in a clear and concise way is really important for this exercise.
Thank you very much. And I mean, finally, in terms of certainly the Mondelez structure of an assessment centre, the final and in some cases, and for a lot of people, the most daunting part of an assessment centre is the individual interview. Now, Gemma, I know you've been on that side of the table where you've been interviewing people for early careers programs, graduates, interns. I mean, what does an employer look for? I mean, and what does Mondelez International look for? From what should a candidate be demonstrating at the interview stage?
Yeah, sure, Dave. So I think you have to bear in mind what I said earlier, in that through the interview process, we really want to get to know you. We want you to be your best self throughout the whole day, but also within the interview process. So in terms of feeling worried or daunted about the experience, we'd hope that you can put that aside, and our interviewers will put you at ease, because we will have spent some time with them, maybe throughout the day or during the introductions. So I guess first of all, to say, be your best self. Again, don't feel concerned because it is a one-on-one interview. But basically, we'll be taking you through a competency-based interview, which means that we're asking you to showcase examples where you've used a particular competency. Now, I think something that you really need to bear in mind here is that it really needs to be about what you have actually done as an individual, not what you could have done or would have done in a different situation, or what your fellow colleague or friend may have done. It really needs to be about you. I think the other thing to really bear in mind is that I know some of you will have had summer jobs, work experiences, you might have done internships already. I mean, these are all really great experiences, but you can also bring experience from other areas of your kind of day-to-day lives or your education history. So we get some really great examples from charity work, societies, projects, team sports, teamwork. So I guess I would just ask you to think more broadly. If it's not an immediate kind of job example that's coming to mind, don't worry, don't let that concern you. Just think about other experiences or examples that you might have within your toolkit. So in terms of when you're approaching the answer to your question, you might also like to think about what we call the STAR model. So you might want to start thinking about, really the situation that you were in, the task that you did, the action that you took and the result that you drove. And by doing that, hopefully you'll be able to put together a kind of nice story around the example and what you're trying to get across to our interviewer. So that's the STAR model. So just bear in mind situation, task, action and result. The other thing I really like to hear about is what you would have done differently or what you've learned through the process. So I guess through any project or experience, you can always approach something in a different way or take learnings from an experience. So it's always really great to hear from candidates around those two things as well. I think also remember, and probably the most important thing to remember is, it's really a showcase of your skills and talent. What makes you you, and what makes you sort of unique, really. And also, why are you the best person for the role at Mondelez? Really make sure that you're showcasing all of those things and remembering to be yourself through the interview process.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so I've just been told that we've had a few questions come through on Twitter, and one of these is based on the role play and the group exercise. Someone here has asked whether that's going to be based around the stream that you've applied for. As a rule, at our assessment centres, that's no. So the group exercise and role play, if you're applying for one of our graduate programs, is generic. Because we're assessing on a competency base alone, we're not looking necessarily for technical ability in a specific area to begin with. It's very much more important about how you go about completing a task, more so than what your sort of knowledge is behind a particular subject. So don't be surprised if you're applying for one scheme to come across something that you would have thought would have applied to another scheme. It's all going to be the same for everyone, so everyone is assessed fairly at no matter which assessment centre you attend with Mondelez International. So I thank you for that question. In terms of the interview on the assessment centre day, that is going to be competency based. There will be questions based around the technical aspects of the role, but for the majority of these roles that we're not going to be sort of assessing on those very deeply. Again, just to reiterate, it is competency based for the majority of the part of it. For those of you who are applying for chemistry or the sort of other research, development and quality roles, because of the necessity to have specific degrees to apply for those, we will be asking you questions based around your knowledge of that area. As you can imagine, some of the technical roles do require sort of a prerequisite in certain aspects of the role itself. Moving on from that, I had another question come through. In terms of, someone's asked in terms of how many people we take on. At Mondelez, it's very much about the quality. We will take on, as many as we can for good candidates, and that's the real key with Mondelez International, is the fact that when we're presented with amazing people, we want those amazing people in our business, and we do everything that we can to cater for those and make sure that we can retain the talent that comes across to us. We don't have specific quotas that we look to fill, and people aren't just treated as numbers in that respect, and that we look at people as the people that they are, and we will recruit based on the skills and qualities that they bring to the table on the day. So thank you for some of your questions. Please keep them coming. In terms of the next one, I want to put this forward to Steve, which is it's a standard question for many graduates and interns who never quite too sure. Steve, maybe you can tell us what's the dress code for an assessment centre? How do we go about that?
So the dress code is business formal. So if in doubt and you're not sure what that means, I would go with dressing up.
Perfect, short and sweet. There you go. That answers that question. Yeah, business formal, always the best way forward. So just make sure you're prepared for the occasion. Someone's actually asked here a little bit more based around the history of our graduate jobs and internships. Now, Gemma, I'm wondering if you can sort of briefly answer this one for me. Someone's asked about the, how long have we had internships and graduate positions within Mondelez International? Gemma, do you think you could sort of give us a bit of background behind that?
Yes, absolutely. I guess it really goes back to how Mondelez International was born. So Mondelez International came from the craft foods business, and the craft foods business, had been around for a number of years, and certainly had a big focus on internships and graduates. I think it's for, it's well over 10 years. I'm not sure exactly what the exact number is, but it's certainly well over 10 years that we've been involved in that space. I think we also need to mention as well around the Cadbury organisation, which was acquired historically by the craft foods business. Again, another organisation that put a great focus on early career and has a long history of not only working with graduates and interns, but also within the apprenticeship space as well. And actually taking that forward into Mondelez International, we've used all of the ingredients from both of those great schemes, those great kind of previous employers, to really bring the Mondelez International schemes up to kind of where they are today. So we'd like to think we've got to a great position over the years in terms of how we've learnt to manage both the attraction assessment, but also the program design once you're part of our organisation.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've also had a number of questions come through based on, what sort of qualities do we look for, and what makes a good team member, what makes a good sort of individual presentation. Now, I want to answer this generically to a point of which, it will help you in regardless of any application that you're making. When you're looking at the qualities that a specific employer is looking for, it's always good to go onto the company's website itself. So someone here has asked, what makes good qualities of a team member during the group exercise at Mondelez International. So if you actually went onto our website and had a look at the values that we have within our organisation that we like to see our people living every day. Just an example of that is inspiring trust, which is a very important part of being part of a group or team within the business, because we want people to be acting with integrity, so that people sort of learn to trust you and can leave you with tasks and know that they'll be done. I mean, that's just one example of how we would do that at Mondelez, but again, we have many different values, and our values will be different to the values of another company. So it's important to think about the values of whichever company you're applying for when looking at that question, or how to act in certain situations, and then bring in how your personality fits in with that. Any sort of assessment center or interview, it can be seen that you need to bring through your own personality. So think about values and the goals and the mission of the company, and think, okay, I understand that, but how does my personality fit into that? And that's kind of the real crux of the matter, is that we want people to be individuals, and that our values aren't there to create a whole company full of clones. It's all about how people showcase those values through who they are, as a way of acting through Mondelez International. Another question that's come through is based on the interview at the end of the assessment centre. Someone's asked how long that tends to last. Now, there's no exactly set time limit, it will tend to vary, but somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour, and this will generally be the last activity of the day, of which you'll be sat down in front of someone, and you can have a bit more of a one-to-one conversation about your application, and moving forward from that. So before we sort of move on to any other questions, I want to put another question to Steve. Now, Stephen, could you tell me, if you had to give 3 top tips for an application, what would they be? What are Stephen Say's 3 top tips?
Stephen Say's 3 top tips for an application. You've got to show a range of examples. So don't don't just stick to one. We want to see your whole personality. We would like you to be concise, so stick to the point and don't waffle on. And I guess most importantly, may sound a bit cheesy, but be yourself.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Gemma, same question to you. 3 top tips.
Yeah, I think yeah, communication is obviously key. So I think can't echo that enough really from Steve. I think energy as well. So if you're feeling energetic and passionate about something we've asked you or something you're talking about, don't be afraid to show that. Don't don't come and feel that you have to be really composed because it's maybe a formal situation. Be yourself. Show really where your energy lies. I think be real as well, because I think we recognise that through anybody's experience, there will have been bumps along the way, and you may have learnt through those bumps. So just because it may have been a situation that had maybe a slightly negative outcome or something that you wouldn't like to do again, don't be afraid to use it as an example, because I'm sure any kind of rocky situation or a challenge that you faced, whatever the outcome was, you would have learned a lot from. So I guess, don't be afraid to share.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We've had another question come through, and Gemma, I want to put you on the spot a bit here, but I'm sure you'll be able to take this one. Someone's asked, do current employees, say from the leadership team, from their specific area that they've applied for, will they be able to sort of speak to those people on the day? Will they be around to chat about what they do within Mondelez?
Yeah, so often we get guests come into the lunch from the actual UK&I leadership team. So it really just depends who's booked in on the day as to whether you'll get to meet them. But the Early Career Talent Forum is made up of what we would call the extended leadership team. So basically they are a +1 to a leadership team member. So for example, I'm +1 to Diane Tomlinson, who is our HR director for the UK&I, and I sit on her country leadership team for the UK&I, leading our talent acquisition agenda. So you'll get to meet a good range of leaders from the leadership teams of the functions that you're applying to, and hopefully you'll also get to meet some of our leadership team members as well. But I think it really just is dependent on the assessment centre that you're in and their availability, but they do certainly support the initiative and also often come to lunches and such like throughout the weeks that we're running our assessment centres.
Thank you very much. Definitely. I mean, I remember when I was at the assessment centre for the HR graduate scheme, that I had the opportunity to meet the leaders within the HR program, as well as previous graduates or graduates that are still on the HR program, and it does give you a sort of a better insight into what's going to be happening should you join the company, and the types of people you get to meet throughout your time here. Okay, so one final question now, which has come through. Which is asking about the starting date for internships. Someone here has obviously watched our Hangout for Research Development and Quality, so we thank you for the repeat view. And they've asked about the starting dates, which for our internships, it is going to be around the summertime. Now, although we don't have exact starting dates, you can expect it to be sort of late June, early July. We do offer some flexibility in some situations, but they're usually on an individual basis because we like all of our interns that are on a year-long internship with us to sort of start and end their internships at the same time. But if you have extenuating circumstances which may not allow that exactly, we will take that into account if you are the right person for us. So perfect. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We hope we managed to answer any questions that you had. As I said, if you do have more questions, tweet them to us at MDLZ. We will try to answer as many as possible. For those of you that are watching the recording of this on YouTube, please feel free to comment your questions below, again, or try to reach us through Twitter or Facebook message us. I'd like to thank Gemma and Steve for joining me today, and I wish everyone the best of luck in any of our applications that they're making, and we hope to see some of you soon. So thank you very much.